Jan, I'm going to call on you. So you had set up some things that you copy pasted some flows. They should theoretically work exactly the same, but one is not and the other one is. I think, what was it, the set element value from data collection, set value from data collection. Can you show your screen and then just take us from the top?
Yeah, I can share my screen.
And Drew, I think you were helping Jan with this one in the Discord.
Yeah, Drew already sent me some help, but we didn't find the detail. What's wrong with these two grid elements? Oh no, not the grid element. It's the grid rows where I have the flow on the page binding.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just thinking, did we ever fix that bug where it was two grids on a page? Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
I think that got fixed, yeah.
Okay, never mind.
As long as the main page that has the grids is using the data run bindings v2, then it should be fixed. But if it's not, we can delete the current one and add the new one.
Okay.
Looks like
Sorry, Jan, go ahead.
Okay, so the process is in the end, I have two grid lists where I want to show the bookmarked profiles on this page. And so therefore I have the two grid lists here, and I fill them with the grid row. And the grid row for the podcast, I have the page binding, and on the page binding, I set the value for the podcast name and the image. And after that, I run the data run bindings. And actually, it's the same on the other side for the guest profiles. I also have here the page binding, and I set the value for the name, I set the image, and I have the page binding. The only difference in my view is I have a different data collection. I have guests on this one with the field name, of course, and then I have here that's the same actually watch list profile ID, the one and the comma separated. And on this one, it's working. And if we go back here, can have a look on the name. We have the different collection. So it's another field, but it's also a name. And I have here the same ID, and it's from the current value, watches, and the profile ID. I have the one and the comma separated. So in my eyes, it's the same, but it's not working. And I have no idea where to look.
Dive into if you want to just try it out, because we went back and forth a little bit. I thought maybe the binding was out of order, which wasn't the case. We reset all the fields to make sure they had all the right IDs, and that didn't help. But I'm wondering if somewhere in your app, if you get like a list of all the podcasts, and what I'm getting at is like what actually helps someone. I just said in Discord, I'll answer him after this. It's a similar situation where sometimes when you get a list of podcasts somewhere else in your app first, and that might not include the name, Bildr will cache it. And then when you go to look for this name, Bildr looks at the cache instead of going, back to the server. Okay. So if that's the case and it didn't have the name there, it would just come up blank, like it just wouldn't work. So I was thinking maybe it could be something like that. So I'm wondering if you did somewhere else get a list of the podcasts, but in this case, it would be like the first time you got the list of the guests. So they work because it's the first time you're getting them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have different grid lists where I list all the podcasts, but actually I think in all of them is the title and the picture image as well. Yeah, because they are very important for that. So
yeah, it probably wouldn't be that then.
Yeah.
Can we look at a couple of things just so I can understand the setup a bit? Can you go to the parent page there and select on the grid, that podcast grid? The one
that's this one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And then how is this value being set? So it's not from the data.
No, it's not from the data. It is set by
So I mean, it's in the page
So I
binding.
have the page binding where I condition if any watched profiles for the podcast is.
Yeah.
And there I do set a variable with this name, and I have here the watch list and with the user ID and with the type podcast, because I have one data collection for all the watch lists.
Gotcha.
And
In the when you preview this page, it does load the rows to match the number of records correctly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if I click here, I have the podcast with the image
Okay.
and the different
Can you right click like on one of those podcast rows where it says title and then just inspect? And then the one that's highlighted, can you right click that again and then just do store as global variable?
This?
Select an element inside, so select the title, and you can turn off the mobile display in the debug. That it makes it a little easier. And then close that, and then click on the inspector again. It's to the left of the
this one?
yeah, click that, and then go over the title and then click that. And then on the right side, do you see a highlight? Right click on that and then click on store as global variable.
Yeah, like right on that P tag, just anywhere where you're
Just right click on it. It should give you a menu.
Right click.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah, and then store as global variable.
Store as global variable. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on your keyboard, if you just press up, the arrow key up, and then type dot, and then
what do I type?
Dot.
Oh no, this one.
Yeah. And then BRW. And that's that first one, ob. Yeah.
Okay.
You just press right or tab and then do dot after that. And then that's correct. So select that one again, the brow form. And then do dot. And then that first one, underscore vars. So select that. And then hit enter now.
Enter.
So what this is doing is, did not press up again. It's like it cleared it instead of, and then press enter on the keyboard or return. That's weird. Why is it deleted? Press up again.
Okay.
And then I want to see if the ID is in here, because I think what's happening is the filter is not finding that filter ID, and that's why it's not setting anything. Oh, but you know what, Drew? Did you notice that the default value in that element didn't even get replaced? So I think the set value action just needs the element reselected. Go back to the studio.
Yeah, because like in the thing I was suggesting, it should be blank. It shouldn't actually say the
Yeah, because if it's not finding anything, it would clear it. Go back to that row page, the one that's broken.
Okay, this one.
And then go to the page binding and let's go look at the first set value. And then on here, click in the element where it says title on the right side. On the right side, yeah. And then reselect it. And then let's go to the preview and let's refresh and see if that's all it is.
No.
So maybe the page binding's not running. Okay, go back to the studio and let's just follow the flow. On the left side, click on the elements tab. On the left panel at the top, you see where it says elements and flows. Click on elements.
Elements, yeah.
Yeah, and then click on the first one, the one that says page body.
Page body.
Yeah, I just want to confirm that the page load is set.
It's not.
And it's not, so that's why. So in the flows, do you see where it says page load flow?
Yeah, here.
Click in there and select the page load.
Oh, why do I have
And then it
two
looks like you have
bindings here?
two. Yeah, so let's go confirm which one's the correct one. So on the left side, click on flows. And then where it says page binding, click that. And then on the right side, in the title where it says page bind, just put a character in there. Yeah. And then now let's go to the page load. I just want to make sure down below.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Page on here. Yeah.
Okay, so it's correct. Okay, so let's
Okay.
go refresh and try it. I think it was just that the page load wasn't set to run. So nothing
Okay.
was happening.
Is that always defaulted, Dorian? So.
It is.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
That's all it was. Cool.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask
So-
if you remember changing that because it should be defaulted always. You should never have to worry about that. But that starter template had some other things where like some of the collections were restricted and you have to undo it. I wonder if it's something you need to undo and be aware of. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is
but-
it possible that I copied it and then this one lost it, or how did that happen?
yeah, that could definitely happen.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, we can go do some tests to see maybe the duplicate page is not setting the new page load correctly.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Wait,
yeah.
Jan, did you duplicate the page or did you copy the elements over?
I copied the elements over.
Okay, so you created a totally new page and then you just copied.
No,
and
first I
pasted
copied the page, but then I changed the styling here, and so I copied after the elements to this one.
them. Okay.
So the initial page was from the
The
duplicate.
initial page is
Yeah.
copied
Okay.
from this one.
So
yeah.
I'll make a note to test duplicating to make sure it brings that over.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
very cool that we find this detail.
Yeah, yeah. And anytime you see something like that, you can do those same steps we went through. Just go check
Yeah.
the page body, make sure it has that page load set.
Yeah.
Okay, super.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jan. All right, so let's see. Okay, so Mitch, you've got some stuff too.
I do.
All right, cool. Let's do it, and then we can go over Alpha Lar's question about custom drop downs.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So the first thing is, okay, let me just share this. Wait, actually, let's do this. So the first thing is, I'm curious about the way that I'm doing a grid. Let me bring this over. Is I'm pulling the page ID dynamically. So let's go over here. So on this grid list, I'm using Xano as a backend, and the data is being pulled in from the variable. This is coming from Xano. And then I'm using, this setup to get the actual path. What I'm really trying to figure out is how to basically get basic data about the state of the grid, like what's showing and what's not showing. Because the functionality I'm exploring is being able to save what's showing. But if there's a long list of ingredients, so if it's showing 3, but there are 10 that are loaded, I don't want to save the whole object, just what's being visible. So is there any way to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, essentially, I don't know if you have the action where you're doing the save set up
Not
yet,
yet.
but you do have it.
No, not yet.
No, okay, yeah, so there's a, what's it called? So when you're getting the value in that save action from, because you're gonna get the value from the grid, which is gonna display that information. In that grid, there's a toggle where you first select the grid as the element. Then you select where you're getting the value from.
Mhm.
One of the options is search result data. And that essentially is what's being displayed versus what's actually all being set.
But
So you
this is
can
an
do-
action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can try it by just setting a variable somewhere. If you want to do
Yeah.
a test,
Yeah.
just do like a set
Um,
variable action. Yeah.
So what is it?
First search
Search?
set variable.
to be set variable.
Yeah, we're not doing the grid.
Oh, I
search
see, I
yet.
see, I see,
Yeah,
I see what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying. Okay.
It's actually like inside of where you're
Right,
using
right.
the
Got
value.
it.
Just as a test scenario, like
Right.
you wouldn't use a set variable, you would do it in whatever save action you do.
Uh-huh.
But for the name, you can just put test in there, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And then for the value, you'll get this from element value. Just that first one. And then you would select the grid.
Sorry. Where is it? There it is.
And then it defaults to just getting the straight value. But there's that option there. You could also do rows visible, or no, actually rows visible is a count. So search result data. This
Okay.
essentially will give you only the things that are actually displayed in the grid.
And it gives it in the form of page ID and
It gives you the full, it's an array of objects where every row in the grid is whatever variables you have in that object.
okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, cool. I had another thing. There's actually two of the things that I'm blanking on, but there is this. I'm having an issue where I'm trying to so there's this cover going on here. It's sometimes it takes a second to get the right one, where I'm pulling in an embed script from Vimeo. It's saved in here. It's being inserted into a span. For some reason, it's not working right now. What did I do? It was just working. Anyway, the issue is that so actually I can sort of show you in here. So these elements, these are what are getting pulled into the grid, and they have a cover. And so the content is loaded behind it. So I have this situation where for Vimeo, I'm getting something, the Vimeo is getting pulled in, but I can't get this cover to extend 100%. So it's a CSS question. It's like I have to set an actual pixel size, but then obviously it's not responsive. So if I want to have this cover the whole thing, the first thing is, just the video being put into the span, I can't control the width beyond just like a straight pixel size. Certainly can't do it so it's 100% of the parent. So
I can show you how to do that if you want, if that would be the first step, because
That would be
there's
great.
a way to get that done. It's not directly through Bildr, but I know a good trick.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So if you go to, so normally you get the Vimeo embed code. If you
Right.
go to this website, it's called embedresponsively.com.
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah, it'll let you paste that embed code you have and it'll convert it to responsive embed code for Vimeo.
Ah, brilliant.
Yeah, so there's a Vimeo tab up there you can click.
Yeah, perfect.
And I guess maybe use a URL. I forget exactly, but yeah. And so yeah, if you do that embed code, it's so nice. It just becomes fully responsive. 100%.
So the other thing is, like, having the full embed code here is clunky. I would love to be able to insert, the.
That was gonna be my
video-
next suggestion. Yeah, just store the ID, store the video ID, and then you can build that embed code yourself.
Oh, wait, would it be to concatenate it? Is that the way to?
Yeah.
So because with the new code block or embed, there's no way to insert a variable in the
No,
code.
not right now.
Okay.
That would be cool that we have like in the math function, you can insert variables. It'd be really cool to add that in. But yeah, right now, I mean, you could get a variable because it's a code block. So you could get a builder variable from just using JavaScript. You could get it.
Mhm.
It's a little extra. But you can, that code block element, all it really does, like you can actually type code in other elements, like in p tags or divs, like depending on how you set it up. So that might not even, the code block element might not even be the most efficient way.
Huh, okay,
But if you have
Cool.
this responsive code, the code block element's perfect.
cool. I mean, my other question was more just a curiosity. I was Drew. I was the one asking about that one-page video, the one-page site that you mentioned that you had the video somewhere hidden.
Oh yeah.
So the way that I'm dealing with this button down here, this is a separate page getting loaded in. Right now, I actually am saving all of the, I basically am saving actions and pages here inside Xano and creating logic around what to show when, but it's kind of clunky. Like I have like a button socket, API getting called every time it clicks to see what's being stored in Xano as like the base logic. I'm just curious if there's a best practice for this kind of setup that would simplify it.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like when the page loads, pulling in a bunch of that, like the full set of information as variables. You just use variables instead of making network calls, something like that. Is that kind of what the level you're getting at?
Oh, that's interesting. So you load all of the options and then run the logic that way. That makes sense.
Yeah, Bildr's really fast. And like Bildr does that. Dorian, I don't know if Bildr would do that with Xano calls, but like for Bildr data collections, it actually knows like what you've returned or what you've already asked for from the network, and it'll go to the cache instead if you have it, and it gets really efficient. So really, like a lot of times, like I'll do that anyways. I'll just put a variable at the top of the page and then work off that. It's like just super fast, and you're not going to the network.
I see
That
Ray
could-
here. This is something Ray mentioned to me in the past about saving everything up front. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Cool. That's all I got. Thank you.
Nice.
Nice. You're muted, Cora.
The single page app stuff, were you trying to figure out?
Oh, I was actually secretly just hoping you would help find a video, and then I forgot to go back and get it. But I was gonna find a video that just about setting up the URL routes for a single page app. Like I know we have it somewhere, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I think we've covered it a couple times. Let me make a note to send that to you. So this is for just the different setting up the different URL routes.
Well, originally, it was a question about like getting values from the URL, and then I was saying like, oh, you could just use the homepage as like a dynamic URL route, and it was kind of like we fixed the problem, but we only touched on like how should you set it up, and like how did Mark set it up for the starter kit. And I know that information is somewhere just to get all the like loose, extra facts you can pick up from that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me find that and then we can send that over to Mitch. Okay, cool. All right. So does anyone have anything else? Otherwise, we can do custom drop downs. No? Okay. I really want to call Jeroen up to talk about the marketplace, but I didn't give you a heads up or anything. It was just poor planning this week on my
No
behalf.
worries.
But
I can chip in. Yeah,
do you want to share today?
I do. Yeah. No
Let's
worries.
do it. Okay,
I
well then
work with it
great.
every second, so I can tell you anything.
Okay, well let's do it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all. So Jeroen has built another plugin in addition to the marketplace plugin that he made. And this one is really cool because the utility and the organization value that it offers is amazing, because with it, you can see where you're using flows and elements and
Data collections, pages,
data collections.
style sheets is in there.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Shall I
take us
share?
through your own. We've got, oh yeah, we've got plenty of time, and then we can talk about custom drop downs after. But yeah, let's take a look, and then I know that I'll go get the link for the site on Gumroad so that
Yeah.
I can share that with
Get
everybody.
it there. Let me see, where's my,
And then while you take us through that.
I'll take just a screen. There we go. Oh. Work stuff. There's also real work in my life. It's not only Bildr.
What?
Real work as in stuff that pays me out. Yeah. Yeah. So this one. Yeah. This is the project that I'm working on, but I'm just going to show the functionality, and we can see if we want to dive deeper than that. I've got this is basically the plugin as well, so that's again a little bit meta, but I liked it a lot. So I'm building out a project, and yeah, most of the times I'm looking at flows. You know, everybody's working with flows, and it's a bit slow now because of the sharing. And then you have this whole list, and maybe pages of full of this list with flows, and you're wondering, well, where the heck is this hide parent style name being used? So then you need to know, or you need to document it, or that's something that gets harder over time because you build out more and more and more. So that was basically my urge when I started on a project by somebody else, looking through their code, and I was wondering what's happening there. So and then I came up with the solution to add a button to the flow detail page, and actually you can click it and it will tell you exactly where it is being in use. So you can pin this this dialog. Maybe it's just for information's sake, and you click somewhere else and it goes away. But if you want to look it up, you can pin it, because otherwise it moves away. And since of just an hour ago, you can actually click on the page name, and oh, it's in the same page, so that's cool. But if you had selected another page, then it would select that other page. I'll show it with the data collections. That's possible. And then in the page binding, actually there is an element, an action called show parent diff, and there it is. And that's the one who is actually using that hide parent style of flow that we looked up. So you can move this one aside, so you can actually see the list of flows and the information of the flow and the actions itself. And let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, it's in if. Sorry, you're blocking my view. So it's here, in here. Hide that parent style name is being called in this action. So that's for flows. You can do that also for elements. For instance, this grid list. Where is that being used in one of the flows? So when I click it, then it shows me that's also set in the page binding in this case. So when I go back to the page binding in this page, I found out that it's actually being set in the what is it? Show pages. A little bit lower. Kind of stuff popping in my way. Yeah, here it is. So that's where we set the grid list with some results that we got back from anything, maybe a data collection. Fun is also the data collections itself. So I have a list of usage log. So I want to keep track of not everybody, but mostly what people are using in the plugin. And now the usage is not showing. I have some intermittent problems when it sometimes doesn't pop up again, and then it will be there. Yep, there it is. And when we click that usage button, it takes a while because the loading in the background of the list takes a bit longer. But when that's done, it will show you the results, and it's slow now today, specifically also because of the casting that's happening. But these are the pages and flows and even the elements where it's in use. So you see the data description and event, all kind of fields that I use on a page called plugin usage log. I'll show you. in it. And then we can move to the page.
What does the pin do?
The pin is actually making sure that this dialog is not getting away. So if I would close it and I would click anywhere, then it's gone.
Gotcha. Okay.
But sometimes you want that just when it's a lookup, but most of the times you want to navigate the list over here and keep it open while you're looking for stuff.
Okay.
So, and the other button is actually meant to get it out of the way. Sometimes it's nice to have it on the right side, and sometimes it's better to have it in the middle, so you have both information on both sides.
Do y'all realize how meta this is? I mean, Bildr itself is meta, but what Jeroen just did is
Use that information basically. Yeah.
you're showing us how to use the plugin in the actual project.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the plugin project itself.
That it is.
Plugin on. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So it helps me navigate. You know, I'm in most of the development tools I've been using in the past. I was searching a lot, you know, looking up type descriptions, how's the function working, and how is it related to one another. And now I have that same feeling with this this usage search, basically, that it does across the whole Bildr project that I have open now. So I like it a lot. Yeah, and it's helping me a lot as well. So that's why I'm offering it also to other people in Bildr, who are using Bildr to build a project to have this same functionality available.
Yes. This is amazing. Everything that you do is amazing, but I love that you don't wait for us. You don't, when we say, oh yeah, we've got that on the roadmap, you don't, you're like, okay, well, this could be really useful to me and others, so I'm just going to go make it. And that it makes me so happy to see you being able to do that. I think it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, once you get the insights on how it internally works in the browser in this case, and there's a lot of options. Yeah, there's a lot of options.
It's so cool. So I chatted the link for the plugin, the Gumroad link in the chat if anyone wants to check it out. And then kind of help as you, I'm sure it comes super useful when you're trying to debug something and you don't know where all the different pieces are of what you're using. So that's amazing. Thank you, Jeroen. We are so excited that you made that and to be able to use it ourselves too. Very, very cool. Dorian, did you have any feedback?
That's awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're just pulling that from the Bildr cache, parsing through it.
Yeah.
At all the
it's amazingly fast. I was wondering if it would be, you know, a little bit sluggish or something, but if I don't share, you know, it's instant. It's
it's clean.
Yeah.
Love
All
it.
the cache is big sometimes.
Yeah, no, it is. There's a lot of info in there.
Definitely.
Dorian, will that still continue to work as we make the optimization for like the static files and stuff like that?
Yeah, because this is in the studio. Static file only affects execution.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
and I noticed also that some parts of the cache are only getting in when it's actually opened.
Requested.
And being on those detail pages, make sure that information is in the cache before you can actually search for it. So.
And Jeroen, are you sure you're not open to taking other projects or like building things out that people need? You know, we always have people asking like, hey, I'm looking for a developer. And we have a pretty solid list. Fraser is on that list of people that were like, oh, hey, you know, this might be able to help you. But you said you have like a real job. So does that mean like you only build things that?
No, in between, basically. No, but I have I have the luxury of working 2 days a week, sometimes 3 days a week. So in between, I'm building with Bildr, for Bildr, but also on projects of others. Yeah, I've got some requests in.
Yeah,
so,
I bet.
Yeah, but I'm open for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Excellent. So thank you, Jeroen, for taking us through that and for doing such inspiring work. It definitely inspires us. Like we have to go make the marketplace as we intended and all of that. But to have something in between is wonderful because
Yeah.
everybody's been asking about APIs and we gotta get
Oh.
APIs done. So
Can't help with
yeah.
that one.
So I'll be really excited about that. Okay, so I think we've got 15 minutes left, and we did have one question where Alpha Lars had asked in styling and CSS about creating custom drop downs. It looks like he was wanting to put an image or a logo as an option inside the drop down. And then Drew, I think you had said maybe we could potentially show this in office hours. Do we have enough time
Probably, yeah.
to show it or talk through it? And then
Yeah.
I can ping him on the replay and he can build it out.
You want me to do it?
Whoever wants to take it, I can't do it.
I mean, I'm just doing it off the cuff. Like, I didn't really think through it, but yeah, it's like a common thing. Like I basically do this all the time, and it's kind of dependent on the project.
Mhm.
So like on what exactly you're doing, but I can do like a generic one, I think.
I could probably make one, but it's not going to be as pretty as yours. That's for sure.
They're not pretty at first though. I don't know. I'm not gonna have time to make it pretty. Maybe a little pretty. But yeah, basically, so like if you think of a select, which normally you just insert the select element, select menu. Basically, it's got like this state where it's closed, and then when you click on it, it pops open a menu, and there's like several options. So the way I would recreate this, I'll just kind of like recreate it with elements, is to use a grid list. So the grid list is the actual selected, or it represents the select element, and then the row page for each row is going to be like one select option. So I can just do a page for that quick. This grid page. And then this would have like the option in it. So this would be the option name. And when you set that row page to the grid list, you have like the bones now. You can see it looks like a drop-down menu, or like what will become a drop-down menu. And so there's a couple of things to do. Like one is to set up the actions that will hide all the rows except the selected one. And then the other thing to do would be to actually like bind this to the data, to your select data. So if your options are in a data collection, it's really easy. You just bind it with data up here to the collection list, just like any other grid row or grid list element. But if you have custom options, you can actually bind it to like a variable. So I'll do this in an action. Let's do it real quick. And I can element set value onto the grid list. And I can basically concatenate together whatever values I want. So it expects an array. When you bind to a data collection, it's actually giving you like an array of JSON objects. So the brackets will denote an array, and then you can just, there's one object, there's two objects, there's three, and then you put key value pairs. So I can say, I guess for the options, I forget what they're called, but it's like name is something and value is something. So I could essentially like build out a grid list of options in this way. So I'd have option 1 and the value is 1, and then 2 and 3. So basically like that. And so I put this in a concatenate. I didn't actually use it, but if you're pulling some of this information from variables or from other place, you could use this concatenate and you basically build this string. So it's a little advanced. You're doing JSON. If that's too much, you can just put that information into a collection and then read it from the collection. Like that's like the no code way to do it. But just to show, you have a lot of options to set the actual select options. But I'll just keep it like this for now, where it'll have option 1, option 2, option 3, and I can.
I think you had an extra curly bracket on the second option.
Oh, whoops, it's in a flow.
Dorian, you have really good eyes. How could you see that?
And the last
like
one
that
too.
all
I think the last one had it too.
Whoops.
So I think you copied it and
Oh, good.
cool.
You can actually, I guess, do that in another input.
Yeah,
too,
just
like
text
JSON.
in this case.
Yeah, sometimes you can't. Like I'm used to basically building things in a lot of cases, so I just jump right to that. But I could have done it with there's like oh, they're not even available here, right? There's like a JSON array and a JSON object input type also.
Yeah, you won't get those here because those require some pre-definition on the keys.
I'm gonna just send up a page route to test it really quick to see if it says option 1, option 2. I forgot one step. Because I set that grid list with key value pairs here, each one has a name and a value. I get those as variables in the row page. So I have to, on this text box, I can bind this data to from variable name. So now it's like option 1, option 2, option 3, and I don't have it visible, but there's also a field, like a variable in each row for value. So what's going to happen is if I click on option 1, I'm going to run something using that value. And so depending on how you want to set this up, what I would usually do is on this, the page that's holding the grid list, I would just store the current value of the grid list as a variable. And so like I'll kind of like manage that independently. You could also put a hidden input element to manage it like in like a more like logical way. So there's this hidden input right here. That's just an input that'll get a value so that you can always use it the same way you'd use other inputs in a form, but it's not going to show up anywhere. So if I have this hidden input, when you click on one of these options, I'll set the value of this into the hidden input, something like that. But you have a lot of options there. That's why I said it kind of depends on your specific setup. And actually, I don't know if I should even go in like time-wise, if I should even go in and set all this up now or maybe do the hide show.
Probably the hide show.
Yeah, because that's like a little more important because basically right now it doesn't look like a drop down at all. They're all visible. But let's see. So this is how I would do this. This is also where it diverges. Like Dorian might do this differently, but I have this like system I would usually use in this case where I'll go to the row page and I'll make an action to hide the row. Like hide this and an action to show the row. And then I'll just use those in different ways. And so I can use those to hide and show the drop down basically. So for hide, I'm just going to do this hide completely on the outside div. This is kind of like a quick and dirty way to do this, but perfectly valid, like it's going to work. I'll show it. And then, sorry, my son's walking in with a tool in his hands. Thank you, buddy. I'm currently speaking. Yeah. Thank you. I came in with like a vice grip thing. So yeah, so I just created these general hide and show actions. And then what I can do is on this page, I'll be able to run flow on page and target different pages in here. So to start, let's see. I'll have like a flow that's called hide all rows. And I'll do run flow on page, the row page, and the hide. And then I toggle this all except current page. So that's basically saying like, no matter how many rows there are, it's going to run it on each one. So this is like, there's a couple ways again that you could hide these rows, but this is like a real quick way is I'll just run this hide all rows on page binding to start. And like, if I were doing this in production, there might be a little flash where they're open. So I might come back and fix that, clean that up, but this will work fine for now. So now it'll be blank, but just to step through and test each step. I don't know. I missed something already. Should have worked, right? Oh, you know why it didn't work is because these aren't, it sets this value into the grid, but then it's not set when it runs this, probably, right, Dorian, you think?
Yeah, like it's running too fast or
Yeah. I just won't hide them like that to start. There's a way you can get around that. Like what I would do is I would check on each row page. If it's the last row, you can do a check against its array index. If it's the last row, you go back to you run a flow back on the original page. But instead of setting that up, I'll actually just probably start these as hidden. So that hide and show, those hide and show actions, all they're doing is adding a display none like this and then removing it when you show it. So instead of running an action to hide them, I'll just start it hidden. And then basically I'm going to, on this page, check for the value. So it's the same way you would bind a select menu to a value. When the page loads, I'm going to need to check that value and then show that grid list item. So I might call this like bind dropdown. And we don't have a value. So in a real use case, this value might be coming from your data collection or from something else that a user sets. Somewhere you're going to get a value. I'll just hard code one. So I'll do like set variable. And this is the drop down value and it equals 1. And then what I can do is again go to run flow on page. And the page will be row page. And this time I'm going to show and I'm going to do all the pages, but I'm going to limit it where the value variable equals 1, which I can hard code, but I put it as a variable to show how you'd be getting it from somewhere else. So basically I'm saying where only run show this on the page where the value equals this drop down value, which is here. And then like I'm going to run into that same problem if I run this to like where it's not going to be loaded. So just to show it without doing a bunch of extra steps, oops. I'm going to just make it delayed. Like that. So showed option 1 because of all the things I just said and the things I did. But if I change this variable to be option 2 as the default, then it should show option 2. So option 2 selected. But what that is like I'm building these building blocks. So now I have this this system where I can set the drop down by using that run flow on all pages, show this, and I can set the value. So on the row page itself, if I click on it, I'm going to run an action that basically runs that flow on this grid list page, sets that variable, and then runs a flow, that kind of thing, which I can continue to go through and set up. I don't know like how detailed or if we're running out of time.
We have 4 minutes to go. I think we can,
I can show at least like some of the bones of it.
yeah.
So like if you want to set the value, which is basically if you click on that menu option. Oh, I guess there's 2 things. The first thing is when you click on the grid list, you want it to expand so you see them all. And then there's the thing where you click on the row page. So let me actually do the grid list one real quick first. I'll just call it show drop down options or options. And here I'm going to run the flow to show them all. So I'm going to go row page, show this and run them all, but I'm not going to limit it. I'm just going to show them all. And then on the grid itself, I can just bind the click event to show drop down options. So that'll show them all. And then on this page, I started to create that flow called set value. And so what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to set a variable on the parent page. And it's that one I just used, which I forget what I called it. Drop down value. Oh, here. what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of that first one. I'm gonna put it, I'll just put it out here. Did I copy that? So I'm just doing a little quick rearranging so the demo works. And I'm gonna set the original value to 2. That way now I can always just run bind dropdown, which is like, it's not the correct name anymore. That's okay. But there's a lot to this stuff. It's hard to do like a quick demo because there's so many different pieces and you kind of go back and forth. But in any case, we're going to set dropdown value to the current value variable.
Yeah.
And then we're going to run that flow.
I think this is a great start though for Alpha Lars to start heading in the right direction. He was asking about images inside the drop down.
Well, so yeah, so what I'm setting up is the bones, but once you have this set up, anything that's on this row page, you can put anything you want because it's a custom row page. So you put an image in here, you put whatever, and it's all just going to work as the drop down. And actually, if you wanted, you could style it to look more like a drop down, like if you wanted to fake it almost. Every
Right.
browser renders the drop down differently, so it's kind of hard to fake. But you know, usually when you get to this level, you want it to look nicer than a normal drop down anyway, and you just design it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, I think it's all set up to work. Oh, the one thing is I didn't hide them all, so let me just hide it real quick. So in this case, again, this is just like one way to do this, kind of like a shortcut way. But every time you set the drop down, so I was calling it bind, but it's really called like set drop down value. Every time I set it, I'll hide all the rows first. So just run row page, hide on all of them. And then right afterwards, I'm going to show the one that's selected. So I think this, like, I might have forgotten a step, but I think this should do. So option 2, you click on it, it expands. Click option 3. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, I just forgot to bind the click. That's all. So on the main div for the row page, you can bind this on specific elements in the row page if you wanted, but I'll just do the whole row page. I'll just bind that set value on click. And now it should work. So, it doesn't because it's overriding it. That's hilarious. So what's happening here is like I'm clicking on this the actual row page, it's firing first and hiding all the other ones and showing option 2. So it's technically working, but it's not opening. So like there's different ways you would fix that, but to be really fast, I'm just going to put this on the grid list instead of on the click. We'll do it on the mouse over just to see it. So now when I hover over the grid list, it'll show the drop down. And then when I click, it'll set it. So there it hovered, and if I click option 3, it sets it as option 3. So it's like we've got the bones now of like a drop down, a select menu that we recreated. And on the other end, like if you wanted to save the value of this, you have it as a variable on that grid list page. Or like I started putting the hidden element, you would set that into the hidden element and use it, you know, that kind of thing. But this is sort of like the basic structure. So hopefully it's helpful. You can kind of just apply it to your app.
No, that is. It's a good place to start. Awesome. Thank you so much, Drew, for showing us that. And that brings us to the end of the hour. Jeroen, thank you for jumping in and showing us the Bildr Explorer plugin. That is awesome. And everyone else for letting us help you today. We do this every week, so join us if you need anything next week. Otherwise, hope you'll have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.